Ever feel like life's a bit of a tightrope walk? So many unknowns, and we try our best to prepare.
Yeah, we save, we plan, but there's always that what if question lurking.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into a really powerful tool for managing those what ifs. It's about getting a bit more control, insurance.
That's right. And often people just think, car insurance, health insurance,
Yeah.
specific policies.
Uh-huh.
But underneath all that, there's this, well, surprisingly elegant system. We're looking at a chapter that really gets to the heart of what insurance is, fundamentally.
Yeah, it's like understanding the blueprint, not just admiring the house.
Right.
Right. So, our mission for you today is to really get under the hood of insurance.
Hmm.
We'll explore the core ideas, how it works at its most basic level, and crucially, why this foundation matters for, well, anyone looking to protect their financial future.
And we're aiming to cut through the jargon, hopefully give you some of those aha moments, reveal the logic behind it all.
Okay, let's jump in then. So, at its core, what is insurance really about?
Well, it's fundamentally about dealing with risk, specifically the risk of a big financial hit.
Right.
It's a way to transfer that risk. Imagine facing a massive bill, something really damaging. Insurance lets you shift that potential burden.
How? Through a contract.
Exactly, a legal contract. You shift the risk to an insurance company, and in return, you make regular payments, premiums.
So, instead of this huge, unpredictable potential cost hanging over you.
You manage a smaller, predictable cost instead. It's about trading uncertainty for certainty, in a way.
Okay, that makes sense. It sounds a bit like pooling resources, like everyone chips in a little.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
That leads us straight into risk pooling or loss sharing.
How does that work in practice?
It's actually quite simple, yet powerful. Imagine a large group, say homeowners, all worried about the same thing, maybe storm damage to their roofs.
Okay.
Instead of each person facing the full, potentially huge cost of a new roof alone.
Everyone pays a bit into a common fund.
Precisely.
Right.
Everyone pays their premium, a relatively small amount, into this shared pot.
And
Then, if a few homeowners in that group actually do suffer roof damage, the money from that collective pool is used to pay for their repairs.
so my small contribution helps create this safety net. It protects the few who are unlucky, and, well, that could be me someday.
Exactly. It's the power of collective protection. Your premium helps buffer the financial shock for others, and potentially for you too.
Okay, so the pool pays out, but how much does it pay? Is there a rule for that?
There is, and it's a really important principle called indemnity, or indemnification.
Indemnity, right. What's the main idea there?
The core idea is to restore the insured person back to the financial position they were in just before the loss happened.
Ah, so it's about making you whole again, financially speaking.
Yes. Crucially, it's not about making a profit from the loss. No gain is allowed. It's about reimbursement for what was actually lost or damaged.
So if my car gets damaged, insurance pays to fix it, not buy me a brand new, better car.
Generally, yes. That's the principle. It catches you. It doesn't, give you a boost.
Okay, so that's how most insurance works, like car, home, health.
Most property liability and health insurance, yes. They aim to reimburse the actual financial harm. Now, it's worth mentioning, life insurance is often a bit different.
How so?
Life insurance is usually a valued contract. This means there's a predetermined payout amount agreed upon when the policy is taken out. It's not directly tied to the specific financial loss the beneficiaries experience because, well, how do you measure that precisely?
Got it. So indemnity, make whole again. Valued contract equals predetermined amount. Makes sense. Now, how do insurers manage all this? Paying out claims, pooling premiums. It seems complex on a large scale.
It relies heavily on a fundamental statistical principle, the law of large numbers.
Okay, the law of large numbers, what does that tell us?
Basically, it states that the larger the group of similar risks you look at, the more accurately you can predict the total number of losses that will occur within that group over time.
So more data points lead to better predictions.
Exactly. Think about insuring homes again. If an insurer only covers, say, 100 homes, a couple of major fires could really throw off their calculations, maybe even bankrupt them.
But if they insure 100,000 similar homes,
Then the actual number of fires that occur is likely to be much closer to the average number they predicted based on past data. A few claims here or there don't destabilize the whole system.
so there's safety in numbers for the insurer.
Right. Which ultimately benefits everyone who's insured because it leads to more stable premiums and reliable coverage.
And for this law to work well, the risks need to be similar, right? You mentioned homogeneous exposure units.
Yes, that's key. Homogeneous means similar. Exposure units are the things being insured. The houses, the cars, the people. Insurers need to group together large numbers of similar units exposed to similar perils.
Like comparing apples to apples.
Precisely. It's much easier to predict losses for 100,000 standard three-bedroom houses in a particular region than for a mixed bag of 100 totally different properties scattered everywhere.
So, large numbers of similar risks allow for predictable pricing and stable coverage. But what happens if the group isn't quite average? What if riskier people sign up more?
Now you're hitting on a major challenge for insurers: adverse selection.
Adverse selection. Sounds problematic.
It can be. It's the tendency for people who believe they have a higher than average chance of loss to be more likely to seek out and buy insurance compared to people who think their risk is low.
Well, that seems logical from the individual's point of view. If I think I'm likely to get sick, I definitely want health insurance.
Of course. But from the insurer's perspective, if their pool ends up with too many high-risk individuals and not enough low-risk ones.
They'll end up paying out way more in claims than they budgeted for based on average risk.
Exactly. That imbalance can threaten the insurer's profitability and potentially lead to rising premiums for everyone left in the pool to cover the unexpected costs.
So how do insurers deal with that? They can't just guess who's high risk, can they?
No, they have processes. The main one is underwriting. That's the whole process of evaluating a risk before deciding whether to insure it and on what terms.
Ah, so that's why they ask all these questions on the application forms about health, driving record, property detail.
Precisely. They're gathering information to assess the level of risk you represent. Based on that assessment, they classify the risk,
Classify. How?
typically into categories like preferred, meaning lower risk, so you might get a discount. Standard is average risk, standard premium. Or substandard, higher risk, which might mean a higher premium, or maybe some coverage limitations or exclusions.
Okay.
Insurers also try to get a good mix of risks. Group insurance, like the plans offered through employers, often helps mitigate adverse selection because you get a large, diverse group of people, both high and low risk, all participating.
So the underwriting is there to try and keep the risk pool balanced and the system fair and financially sound for everybody. It's not just, bureaucratic red tape.
Not at all. It's essential for the system to work. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Let's talk about the anatomy of a claim. We hear terms like peril, loss, hazard. They sound related, but what's the difference? Let's start with peril and loss.
Okay, think of it this way. The peril is the cause of the loss. It's the event itself.
Like a fire or a hailstorm.
Exactly. Fire, windstorm, theft, collision, illness. Those are perils. The loss is the financial consequence. It's the reduction in value, the medical bills, the cost of repairs.
So peril, cause, loss, financial effect.
Spot on. For your house, the peril might be a fire. The loss is the cost to rebuild and replace damaged contents. For your car, the peril is the accident. The loss is the repair bill and maybe medical costs.
Makes sense. And with health insurance.
The peril is the sickness or injury. The loss is the cost of treatment, medication, hospital stays. For life insurance, the peril is death, and the loss is the financial gap left for the beneficiaries, covered by the payout.
Okay, clear distinction. Now, when you buy a policy, does it cover all perils?
Not necessarily. Policies define coverage in different ways.
Sure.
You often see named perils versus special perils.
What's the difference there?
A named perils policy is quite specific. It only covers losses caused by the perils actually listed in the policy document. Fire, lightning, windstorm, whatever is named.
So if it's not on the list,
You're likely out of luck. For example, if your named perils policy covers fire and wind, but not, say, damage from the weight of snow, then snow damage wouldn't be covered.
okay. And special perils.
Special perils policies, sometimes called open perils or all-risk policies, work the other way around. They cover losses from any cause.
Oh, wow, that sounds broad.
It is, except for causes that are specifically listed as exclusions in the policy.
So the focus shifts to what's not covered.
Exactly. The insurer has to explicitly exclude things like maybe flood, earthquake, war, intentional damage by the insured, etc. Generally, special perils offer broader protection.
Good to know. Always read the exclusions.
Mm.
Okay, we've got perils and losses. And you mentioned direct and indirect losses earlier.
Yeah. A direct loss is the immediate physical damage caused by the peril, the fire actually burning the building. the wind ripping shingles off the roof.
Okay, the obvious damage.
Right. An indirect loss, or sometimes called a consequential loss, happens as a result of the direct loss. It's a secondary financial consequence.
Like what?
Well, if that fire damages your business premises, direct loss, the income you lose because you can't operate while repairs are made, that's an indirect loss. Or if your home is uninhabitable after damage, the cost of staying in a hotel could be an indirect loss.
I see. And you mentioned disability insurance fits here too.
Yeah, it's a good example of covering a consequential loss. The direct issue is the illness or injury, the peril in a sense, but the insurance covers the consequence, the loss of your income because you can't work.
Got it. Direct
Uh,
damage and then the knock-on financial effects.
Yeah.
Now, what about how the loss happens? Is there a difference between an accident and an occurrence?
Yes, there is, though it can seem subtle. An accident is usually defined as a sudden, unforeseen event that happens at a specific time and place, like a car crash. Bam, it happened.
Okay. Sudden and specific.
Occurrence is a broader term. Definitely includes accidents, but it also covers losses that happen gradually or over a prolonged period due to continuous or repeated exposure to harmful conditions.
So not just sudden events.
Right. Think about, say, damage caused by slow water seepage over months, or developing a respiratory illness from long-term exposure to dust at work. Those might be considered occurrences, even if they weren't sudden accidents.
So every accident is an occurrence.
But not every occurrence is a sudden accident. That's the key takeaway.
Yeah.
And this potential for any kind of loss to happen in a given situation, that's what insurers call loss exposure.
Right, the possibility of loss. And linking back, they want lots of those similar homogeneous exposure units to predict the overall loss exposure accurately.
Exactly. Okay, so we have perils causing losses. What about hazards? Where do they fit in?
Hazards are conditions that increase the chance of a peril happening, or increase the severity of the loss if the peril does happen. They make loss more likely.
So they're like risk amplifiers.
That's a good way to think of it. And we usually talk about three main types of hazards.
Okay, what are they?
First, there are physical hazards. These are tangible material conditions you can often see or touch.
Examples.
Sure. Icy roads increase the chance of a car accident. Faulty wiring in a house increases the chance of fire. Storing flammable liquids near a furnace. Even a dead tree branch hanging over your roof. Those are all physical hazards.
Okay, tangible conditions. What's next?
Then we have moral hazards. This one relates directly to a person's character, their honesty, or lack thereof.
How so?
A moral hazard exists when someone might intentionally cause or exaggerate a loss because they have insurance and hope to profit from it. Think insurance fraud, deliberately crashing a car, faking a theft, arson. It involves dishonesty and intent.
Right, deliberately trying to cheat the system because of insurance. That's serious.
Very. And the third type is morale hazard. It sounds similar to moral, but it's different.
How is morale hazard different?
Morale hazard stems from indifference or carelessness towards loss, precisely because a person has insurance. It's not about intentional fraud, but more about a subconscious or conscious relaxation of caution.
Like leaving your car unlocked with valuables inside because A, it's insured.
Exactly. Or driving a bit more recklessly, or not bothering with basic home maintenance because you figure insurance will cover any problems. It's an attitude of carelessness fostered by having that safety net.
So moral hazard is about intent to defraud, while morale hazard is about indifference or carelessness due to being insured.
That's the key distinction. Understanding these hazards, physical, moral, morale, helps everyone, insurers and individuals, identify and manage things that make losses more likely.
Absolutely. Okay, we've covered perils, losses, hazards. Let's zoom back out to the big concept, risk itself. In insurance terms, what exactly is risk?
At its most basic, risk is uncertainty concerning loss. It's the possibility that something bad, something that causes a financial loss, might happen.
Uncertainty. Okay. But you mentioned earlier that not all risks are insurable. What's the difference?
Right. We need to distinguish between two main types: speculative risk and pure risk.
Speculative versus pure. What's speculative risk?
Speculative risk involves a chance of either loss or gain. Think gambling, investing in stocks, starting a business. You could lose money, but you could also make a profit.
Okay. Potential upside and downside.
Exactly. Insurance generally doesn't deal with speculative risks. It's not designed to protect you from bad investments or business decisions where profit was a possibility.
So what does insurance deal with?
It deals with pure risk. Pure risk involves only the possibility of loss or no loss. There's no chance of financial gain.
Example.
Things like your house burning down, getting into a car accident, becoming seriously ill, dying prematurely. In these situations, the best outcome is that nothing happens, no loss. The worst outcome is a loss. There's no potential win scenario.
Ah, okay. So insurance is purely about protecting against the downside, the potential losses, not about facilitating gains.
That's the fundamental idea. Protecting against pure risk.
But even within pure risks, not everything can be insured easily, right? You mentioned elements of an insurable risk.
Correct. For the insurance mechanism to work properly and sustainably, a risk ideally needs to have several characteristics. These aren't always perfectly met, but they are the ideal.
What's the first one?
The loss should be due to chance. It needs to be accidental, unforeseen, and outside the insured's control, at least in terms of timing and occurrence. This helps prevent adverse selection people buying insurance only when they know a loss is imminent.
Okay, accidental. What else?
The loss must be definite and measurable. You need to be able to determine that a loss actually occurred, when it occurred, where, and, importantly, you need to be able to measure the financial extent of it. How much did it cost?
Makes sense. You need proof and a dollar amount.
Third, the risk needs to be predictable. This ties back to the law of large numbers. While an individual loss is uncertain, the insurer needs to be able to statistically predict the likely frequency and severity of losses for the group as a whole. This requires, as we said, large numbers of those homogeneous units.
Predictable for the group, not the individual. Got it.
Fourth, the loss should not be catastrophic to the insurer. The insurer needs to be able to absorb the potential losses. That's why things like war or nuclear events are typically excluded. The potential scale of loss could bankrupt even large insurers. It has to be manageable within the pool.
Right, the risk pool can't handle absolutely everything.
Fifth, as we keep mentioning, there must be a large number of exposure units. You need enough similar risks being pooled together for the law of large numbers to work its magic and make predictions reliable.
Large numbers again. Crucial. Anything else?
Finally, the premium must be economically feasible. The cost of the insurance has to be affordable for the average consumer, and it needs to be relatively small compared to the potential size of the loss you're insuring against. If the premium is almost as high as the potential loss, well, it doesn't make much sense.
Okay, so due the chance, definite and measurable, predictable for the group, not catastrophic for the insurer, large numbers, and an affordable premium. That's quite a list.
It is, and it shows why setting up a workable insurance system requires careful consideration of the risks involved.
And when insurers look at us, individuals applying for insurance, they categorize our risk level too, right?
Yes, based on their underwriting.
Yeah.
As we touched on, they'll typically classify applicants into risk categories.
Remind us what those were.
Standard risks are considered average, so they pay standard rates. Substandard risks are higher than average risk, maybe due to health conditions or driving history, so they might pay a higher premium or have coverage restrictions. And preferred risks are lower than average risks, so they often qualify for discounts, lower premiums.
So your personal situation definitely impacts the cost and availability of insurance.
Absolutely. Your risk profile matters.
This all feeds into the bigger picture of how we handle risk generally, doesn't it? Risk management.
Exactly. Buying insurance is just one part of risk management. It's really a broader process.
What does that process involve?
Generally, it's about, first, identifying and analyzing the risks you face. What could go wrong? How likely is it? How severe could it be? Then, selecting the best method or combination of methods to handle those risks. After that, implementing your chosen strategy, and finally, regularly reviewing and adjusting your approach as things change.
Okay, identify, select, implement, review. And what are the methods for handling risk? You mentioned an acronym. STAR.
Yes, STAR is a handy way to remember the 5 main techniques, STARR.
Okay, let's break it down. S.
S is for sharing. Risk sharing means spreading the risk among several parties. Deductibles and coinsurance and health plans are examples you share the cost of a loss with the insurer. Forming a business partnership also involves sharing risks.
Okay.
T is for transfer. This is the big one for insurance. You transfer the financial consequences of a specific risk to another party, the insurance company, in exchange for a premium.
So buying insurance is risk transfer. Makes sense. A.
A stands for avoidance. Risk avoidance means deciding not to engage in the activity that creates the risk in the first place. If you're worried about the risks of skydiving, you simply don't go skydiving. You avoid the risk entirely.
Simple enough, though not always practical for essential activities. First R.
The first R is for reduction. Risk reduction involves taking steps to lower the chance of a loss occurring, or to lessen its severity if it does happen. Installing smoke detectors, wearing a seatbelt, putting non-slip mats in the bathroom, maintaining equipment, those are all risk reduction measures.
Okay, reducing likelihood or impact. And the second R.
The second R is retention. Risk retention means you accept some or all of the risk yourself. This can be active or passive.
How's
Active retention is when you consciously decide to bear the risk, often because the potential loss is small or the cost of insuring it is too high. Choosing a higher deductible on your car insurance is active retention. You're retaining responsibility for smaller losses. Setting up a dedicated savings fund for potential losses, self-insurance, is also active retention.
and passive retention?
Passive retention is basically just not realizing you have a risk or doing nothing about it.
Hmm.
It's often just being uninsured or underinsured without a deliberate plan. Planned retention is a strategy. Passive retention is often just neglect.
Got it. So STAR, share, transfer, avoid, reduce, retain. That's a helpful framework. And you also mentioned loss prevention.
Yes, loss prevention is closely related to risk reduction, but it really focuses on measures taken to prevent the loss from happening at all. Using fire-resistant materials in construction aims to prevent a fire from starting or spreading. Strong security systems aim to prevent theft. It's about stopping the peril itself, ideally.
Okay, quite a journey through the fundamentals. Let's try and pull the main threads together. What are the absolute key takeaways for our listener from this deep dive?
Well, I think the first is that insurance is fundamentally about transferring and sharing pure risk, the risk of loss only. It's a collective system.
Right, and it operates on key principles like indemnity making you whole, not richer, and the law of large numbers, which allows insurers to predict losses within large groups.
Exactly. Understanding the difference between a peril, the cause, a loss, the financial effect, and a hazard, something that increases risk, helps clarify what insurance actually does.
And knowing the difference between speculative risk, uninsurable, and pure risk, insurable, plus the elements needed for a risk to be insurable, explains why the system works the way it does.
And finally, remembering that insurance is just one tool in the risk management toolkit, alongside avoidance, reduction, retention, and sharing, empowers you to think more broadly about protecting yourself.
So hopefully you now have a much clearer picture of the bedrock concepts of insurance, going beyond just thinking about policies. This foundation should really help you make smarter choices about managing your own risks.
Absolutely. It puts you in a better position to understand what you're buying and why.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Take a moment to consider the risks you face every day, the big ones, the small ones. How many are pure risks?
And thinking about the principles we discussed, pooling, transfer, reduction, retention. What's your own strategy, conscious or not, for dealing with all that uncertainty life throws your way? Definitely something worth reflecting on.